smallmouth guys. I always want to stay away from the largemouth.
That's right. That's right. I fall in that category for sure.
I definitely have had conversations with people where they're like, "Oh man, like because for the St. Lawrence,
Yes.
largemouth. When you get into the summer, largemouth opens up first,
Yes.
and then it opens up as smallmouth in July.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hold out. I'm holding out for the smallies. Like, I love smallmouth fishing, and I honestly would say that for me, I would fish smallmouth a million times before I would go and fish a largemouth, and that's just my personal opinion. But
yeah, I feel the same way.
There's just something about it. It's somebody. I just think that fight is just like no other, like it to me is, and I don't want to also take any love away from, it is fun to go flipping, frogging, throwing Texas rigs, swim jigs, don't get me wrong. It is fun. Probably my one favorite way to catch a largemouth is on a wacky rig, and I like casting it up along the weed and pads and just letting that thing go and waiting for that thing to inhale, because I'll be honest, most of my biggest largemouth have come on a very simple Senko, you know what I mean? Whether it was a Gary Yamamoto, like all sorts of just your basic 5-inch stick bait, and it's fun. But the fight, I feel like it's just over too quick.
I mean, I admire those who can spend a whole day flipping, or those who can frog, because I mean, there's some fantastic anglers in our area that can frog with the best of them, and I just don't have that patience levels to wait for 5 to 7 bites a day to get the right bite. But there's some amazing anglers that are so good and patient, and they'll flip every square foot to go get that.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Some are just way better than I am. So for sure, if I'm going to go,
I think at the end of the day, it's really about passion. You know what I mean? It's what you're passionate about. It's like guys who, musky fish.
Yeah, same thing.
There's a fish of 1,000 casts. You know what I mean? Like that's launching big baits or trolling big baits all day, and there's could be a chance that you don't succeed. There could be a chance that you finally, or you've hooked into something massive. But it's I don't know. I think the St. Lawrence River just offers a lot of different styles of fishing. So it accommodates all sorts of anglers, you know what I mean? Whether you're like a kayak angler, or you're bank fishing, or you're in a bass boat, or just in a boat fishing, you know what I mean? Like the ability to get out there on the water and fish so many different species. Well, I get why St. Lawrence is just so attractive to so many people all over Canada and all over the States. Like,
yeah, absolutely. It's a gold mine. We're so lucky to have it in our backyard to be able to just, like you just said, whether you're fishing a kayak or a boat, I mean, there's so many key areas within 15 minutes from our house that we can go out and fish. We're so lucky. I mean,
to be honest with you, I don't think it's 15 minutes for you. I think you're just probably got that nice dock right on the water,
Yeah, we've got a little luxury maybe there for sure to have some key spots. Yeah.
I would definitely
catch a few bass while doing the podcast. So
yeah, I think that would be really cool if I had that ability. But at the same time, I don't know if I would I go to work every day, or would be like I look out the window and be like, man, it looks really good out there, and
it'd be fun. Like, there's days.
I don't know. I feel something weird coming on. I better go fishing, and maybe it'll fix it for me. But yeah, like as a tournament angler, the St. Lawrence has a lot of tournaments.
Yeah,
we've gone from years of like Pro Bass Canada, I believe it was called.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Renegade series, Bait Fuel.
Yeah.
You go into the Bassmaster Elite Series, which would usually go to Waddington, New York, which then crosses over. Now I think it's in Clayton.
That's right.
Clayton, New York is where.
Mm-hmm.
You have the FLW, which comes to Messina, New York, which, if you're not familiar with where Rob and I are, we are just the other side of the river from upstate New York. Yeah, even at one point, we had the Pro-Am
Yes.
Black Bass,
Right.
where they had, everybody from Canada, the US, and the US was like Robert Martin, Roland Martin,
Yes.
Jacob Wheeler, Daniels, you have so many, Dustin, you have so many big names.
Yeah.
To
And
come.
A lot of them will mention Cornwall as being, the staple for smallies, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
And they fish all over, and you'll still come back and say Cornwall is just, the place to go.
I think as a fishery, the St. Lawrence River is if you want to go and chase trophy size smallmouth, well, why not? Because it is a gold mine. Of course, you have to find out where those little pockets of gold are.
Yes, that's right. Not always.
But that's all part of the puzzle,
That's
and it's the fun part. But so for you as a tournament angler, was this kind of something that you'd always like? Did you grow up fishing? Was it something that maybe transpired later in life?
Yes. I mean, actually, it's gonna sound really weird. I started fishing as a muskie fisherman. That's actually how I started fishing. My dad fished muskie fishing a lot. So before I started fishing perch or bass or walleye, I actually started fishing muskie. So
Very cool.
We had a couple of small rivers in the Cornwall area where, even up to today, like I'm not going to use the term easily catch muskie, but there's still a significant amount of muskie. So I kind of always learned that way. And then as I grew older, some of my best friends were doing Renegade back in the day, before I became Bayfield. And we ended up becoming friends and spending time on the water. And then, you just kind of get that little urge to want to try doing tournaments. And, we started with just a regular 17-foot boat, did some smaller circuits. And before we even talk about some of the big circuits that we have in the area, like we are so fortunate. There are a lot of small circuits in the area, with 25, 30 teams where you can really kind of learn the ropes of doing tournament fishing. And that's how we started, just to kind of get, because it's a much easier to go on a Tuesday afternoon and catch 20 pounds of smallies than it is on a tournament day when you're competing against another 35, 40 boats, right? So sometimes you learn so much, right? So that's how we started. We started a couple of small circuits. I still remember the first time we did a tournament, we came back with, I think it was like one fish, and I remember saying to myself, wow, this is going to be, it's embarrassing coming to the launch. And I remember, the second tournament in the same series, then we had our 5 fish, and, and then our goal become just get your 5 fish, and then you want to upgrade at least twice in the day. And then next thing you know, you build from there, and then you get more confident, and you just learn how to tournament fish, which is very different than going on just fishing for fun.
Well, I when you go into the aspect of tournament fishing, where you have a deadline,
Yes.
you know what you need, you most likely have set up a plan,
Yes.
you have a bass boat with a rod locker with everything that you possibly can think of.
Yeah.
Maybe even your kitchen sink, you might have thrown that in there just for
luck,
But I will say the Cornwall area and surrounding areas, it has quite a community of bass anglers, whether they're tournament anglers, and we'll it's cool to see these smaller tournaments pop up. There is the that there's the one marina that always does the once a year bass tournament. I'm just trying to think of the name of that marina. They do a pike tournament too.
Is it are you talking about the Blue Anchor tournament?
Yes, that's the
Yes.
one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so
That's
yeah,
the
so
one.
the
Sorry,
restaurant.
not the
So
and
that's right. So they do the pike tournament every year. They do a
yeah,
largemouth tournament every year. And actually, this I think Saturday coming up, there's actually a smallmouth tournament. So yeah, they do a couple different ones every year. So
and it's funny too because you look at when there is a tournament in town, it's like it's kind of like what you see if you were to watch like Bass Nation, or you'd watch like the FLW. There is quite a presence at every hotel.
yes.
And then following morning where you have a lineup of boats, and like it's quite a it's very professional, the way that some of these tournaments, like for instance like Renegade, where you had you had some pretty big heavy hitters in the Canadian circuit who come to town, and they would hammer out, and it actually became a TV show.
Yes.
On the World Fishing Network at one point. I don't know if it still continues. That was JP DeRosa who headed that. It's cool. So when it came to you're a muskie angler, you get into bass fishing, and you obviously you said you fish with your son, who I've met also, very nice gentleman, at Tight Lines, because he's also an employee there. Father son team, like, are we talking like Roland Martin and Scott Martin here? Like this is pretty, that's cool, like that.
The last name in common, but that's pretty much as close as it gets. But
that's where I was going with that. Like it's
it's pretty cool because I always say when I get off the water, I mean, I'm always ahead of anybody, even if they finish higher than me, because having the chance to fish with your son is always special for sure, right? So it goes further than just the competing level of it. I mean, we get along really well as anglers. I haven't had a chance to fish with anybody else in tournaments. I really can't judge and say, it's better or worse. But I think it's a pretty cool experience, and we've had some lows together and some highs together, and we've had a lot of good times for sure.
Well, at the end of the day, they always say family's got your back, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And I bet at the same time, because I have a son who is 11, and him and I have been fishing quite a few years, and he is now becoming this like he's got a bait caster. Dave Primo had this bait caster, and I was like, hey Dave, like, how much would you like for it? It's like just happens to be the perfect color that my son, it's blue. Like, he's like, oh yeah man, like you can, he's like, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm like, no, like let me pay for it. And he's like, no, I'm gonna give it to you. And I'm just like, man, like the community in Cornwall, like this is cool. Like I just love that aspect that so many people pay it forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and anyways, so like now he's got this bait caster, and he's like, he'll go into Tight Lines, and he's like, oh yeah, you see this, Dad?
Yeah.
This. And I'm like, man, like, you really think so? And he's like, oh yeah. He goes into the garage, he flips open, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, where did my tackle box go? Like, dude, there's nothing left in my Plano. Like and he's like, it's all over here, So I can kind of relate in that sense, because I'm sure your son, the further you get into fishing, because the further we got into fishing, we started to see the quality, and we started to see, just as anglers, that oh, that looks good, and it's neat to see, now at the same time, like our your children who are growing up, who are growing with the sport also, because at the end of the day, like, they are the future of fishing.
Absolutely.
And so, no, I think it's cool, but at the same time, it's like now
your tackle's going down.
Yeah, my tackle's going down and his tackle's going up. So,
absolutely.
But I do think you could definitely touch on your most memorable tournament. What was one tournament that just may have set aside from all other tournaments?
I mean, on a positive one, it would definitely be probably 2 years ago, we did a tournament. I'll back up 3 years ago. We did a tournament on Two Mountains, which is just on the Quebec side of, so probably about 40 minutes from Cornwall. We did a whole day. We did not catch one fish the whole day. So we came back to the launch. You're pretty much as low as you can get confidence level, and it was a pretty tough tournament. And the following year, we were back on that body of water, and we decided to just put in the hours. There's always an expression at the store where sometimes people come in and say like what can you give me for advice? What would you use? And the bottom line is it's time on the water. Time on the water is the best advice you can give, right? And the following year we did the tournament, same area, and we put the time on the water, and we ended up going from absolute last place to absolute first place, and we won the tournament. And it was just kind of wasn't rewarding, because people always see tournament fishing as just it's all about fun. It's all about fun, but there's so much hours that go into it, and prep time, and camera work, and a lot of behind the scenes that people just think you're just tossing, Senko when you're waiting for it to nib at it, and you're just catching fish. But there's just so much behind the scene that goes behind it, and I don't know how many hours we put in the garage, or studying the maps, or looking at our electronics and trying to figure out what's going on in this body of water. And so it's pretty rewarding getting it. So that's probably my best experience, where, we went from 0 to winning the following year, but it was because we put the time into it. And I think that's what tournament fishing is all about.
I've said it many times, is, there's two things. Time on the water is where you gain experience.
Yeah.
You also gain knowledge through doing your homework.
Absolutely.
And your success, if you want to give yourself the best fighting chance, do your homework. Go and whether that's pre-fishing, whether that is going out there and understanding that body of water, but it's also going back and going through your map studies. Well, Robert has had a slight issue, but I think he will be returning shortly. But you know what, guys, like, when you are getting into, it doesn't even have to be tournament. If you want to give yourself the best fighting chance, I would honestly say, do your homework, understand your body of water that you're going to fish. Map studies are always great. I actually love using Google Maps. Google Maps is one of my favorites. Now, we are going to take a short break, and I will be right back. Well, we are ready to rock back into it. It's okay. Things happen. It's all good. Sometimes, you get bumped out. But yeah, just like what I was saying is, just that importance, like you put the time and effort into it, you're most likely destined for positive results,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure.
But at the end of the day, there's a reason why they call it fishing, not catching, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely. Yeah.
So aside from, Robert Martin, who is this tournament angler, your father, but you're also a tackle shop owner. And but before we dive into that, I got to dive into something else. Explain to me, how do you go from being the Cornwall flower shop and I'm kind of understanding now how this was destined to probably happen for you to do tight lines tackle. But if you could just kind of at the same time explain like how like you go, how does one go about, like how did this happen for you?
Yeah, so it's kind of a cool story. So as most people know, I've owned Flowers Cornwall for over 20 years. So basically during COVID, my business shifted a lot to online versus walk-in based on everything happening with the pandemic. So the doors were reopened, but we certainly weren't getting the traffic that we were prior to the pandemic. So one day I had a customer that came in, actually is Jason Gramada from American Bait Works. So most people will know who he is. And we just had a quick chit chat. And then we started talking about the fact that there really wasn't a tackle store in Cornwall to carry product. And I just joked around saying, hey, you know what? I got a 4-foot wall here. I could put some tackle inside the flower shop. So we fast forward, nothing really happens. We were joking about it more than anything else. And a few weeks passed and we kind of connected and said, hey, when do you want me to drop off some stuff? And so then it kind of snowballed. We decided to do a 4-foot wall. I was carrying just a few articles. Then another supplier came up to me and said, hey, we want to have stuff in your store. And so I was dealing mostly with smaller brands and having a few little rods, a couple of reels. Like there really wasn't very much. It was still a very small section. And but it was inside the flower shop. So the dynamics were a little off. I won't lie. You have really a mix of different clienteles, and it wasn't the best case scenario. And then what happened is that it grew really fast. And then I decided that I would just split the store in half and do flowers on one side and tackle on the other side, which initially felt like a smart plan. But then, on the one side, you'd have, someone coming into your store, we'll say ordering flowers for a sympathy arrangement. And then on the other side, you have 3 guys talking about, how they lost a big smallie at the boat and they were so frustrated, right? So you really had really bad dynamics inside the store, right? And, I have an amazing staff at Flowers Cornwall, but,
Yes, you do.
none of them have any experience selling tackle, nor did they study selling tackle, nor did they want to do it, right? So,
but they had fantastic customer service qualities. Like no matter, it didn't even, okay, maybe their forte was to sell flowers. Like they understood, the importance of arrangements and, the whole basics of flowers. And the same time, I remember going there many times and, how's it going today? Are we able to find this? And it was just like, she hadn't really wasn't sure what I was even buying, but she still took the time to greet me, ask me if I was finding everything okay. And, if I needed any help, like you just covered off like the 3 big check marks of great customer service, they
worked hard. They even put the effort to try to learn stuff. Like it just wasn't fair to them. That was the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a project that I was like, hey, you know what? So then basically one day we had to make a decision. Flowers Cornwall was just growing so much that I needed the space back. And then at that point, I don't even think it was, I think it might have been called Pipelines, but I wasn't even sure if I even had a name for it, to be honest with you. But we might have. And then we had to decide, okay, what are we doing here? We need to either move this or we shut it down and realize that this was just not a smart smart plan. So then this little area became available in the back corner of the same building, and it was only about 600 square feet. And so I moved it there, and then that's where I just realized, okay, yeah, this is something I want to go heavy in. I want to really go to the next level. And as soon as I got to that level, I knew it was just going to be a stepping stone to try to find the right location. We had a 1-year lease there, and right at the end of the lease, just all the stars lined up. This new location became available, which is where we just moved in March of the year, July. And yeah, it's just now I think we're in the direction where we want to go. But it happened very quickly. I mean, to be honest with you, it was like 4 moves in less than a year and a half. Like it blew up so fast. And there's some times where if I was, we'll say, doing a tournament, the girls would send me a picture of the store, and it was like 20 anglers in a 6 foot by 14 section waiting to pick tackle, or it was just like, it was out of this world. So, I mean, it's kind of a weird story because, where so many people work so hard to put a business plan together, and, they might have to, put their house as a backup plan if they're borrowing money, or, like they come in with all sorts of, there's a lot on the line, where in my situation, it was kind of like, what, I'm doing this, and it was a huge gamble. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I bet it was.
But you know what? The support that we got from the local community has been unbelievable. And now it's triggered out to, Ottawa, Kingston, Brockville. The Quebec market has been phenomenal for us. So it's just grew to something that, I mean, we're proud of. But at the end of the day, it only happened because the anglers supported it, and we were able to, reinvest into it.
Well, I have to say though, as a tackle shop, you like when how do I put it here? You started in a flower shop, which I thought was kind of brilliant, because I felt like for every guy that walked in there and knew there's his little voice, and his wife might be going like, do you really need another fishing rod? Yeah. Another light bulb goes off and goes, Dozen Roses says yes, you know. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I was like, and I even remember making that joke a couple times, and but it was cool.
The word came out as a crossover sales. You don't think of a crossover sale between the flower shop and the tackle store, but it happens so often because of those reasons. Maybe a little bit of guilt.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I walked in there, and it was really cool. It was neat to see, all this tackle, and it was cool because there's a lot of tackle that you don't really see, within, well, for one, in Cornwall, surrounding areas. Well, for a long time, a lot of the Cornwall community probably shopped at Paddletails.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when Paddletails closed, a lot of people were either going to have to go to, you were either online. You may have gotten lucky at a big box store in Ottawa, because Ottawa has 2 of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you acquired somebody very knowledgeable. He is very well known.
Absolutely.
And that was Ed from Paddletails. And him and his wife, who are there a couple days a week. Absolutely. I believe it's Fridays. Is it not Friday? And
generally speaking, Fridays and Saturdays, or Thursday and Friday if I'm not in a tournament. So yeah, they've both Ed and Sandy have been phenomenal to help out, and the guidance to grow it to where it's become today. We're more than fortunate to have them both with us. It's fun because everybody knows them. So
that's exactly it.
If someone's coming in for a purchase and they've dealt with them for 20 years, comfort zone to know that they're getting recommended the right thing, and that's been huge. And then my staff in general on both stores, but you know, like when we're talking about tight lines between Ed, Sandy, and Simon has been, you know, I bring in a guy with so many years of experience of tournament fishing. Yeah, we're blessed. Like, I mean, I've got the best staff. It's not even close.
Yeah, and you know, it's cool to have somebody that doesn't just know, because there's a lot, there's a lot of people who understand fishing. You know, that when they get onto a boat, they're like, they can, whether it's a kayak or whatnot, like they just can understand technique. They can pull graph work, and you know, and they can make it happen.
Yep.
But when you get into actually talking about product in a way that you can do it, that you can relate to a customer,
yeah,
and actually be able to successfully sell product,
that's right,
not just talk about it. Tight Lines has like checked off every one of those boxes, and they do it in a way that, you know, I find it's not a at all, you know, push kind of sale. It's just like almost like walking into this friendly tackle shop, you know, the one that, you go and you buy your baits from, or you get your line, or you just stop in to see, hey, how's Rob, or how's Ed, or how's Nancy. You know, it's one of those places that I think as a community base is just so strong, because, you know, at the same time, there, you know, with COVID, there was a lot of places that just it didn't really work, you know, like in the end they folded, or, you know, it's not they folded, they closed, and they had to do other things. But with Tight Lines, you have, you know, not just a great staff and fantastic owner, who at the same time you must be juggling between two, but you can actually walk away and say, I trust my employees with, you know, I don't need to feel like I need to be there watching this, watching that, you know, like it's there's no need for it, you know. And also with Tight Lines, you've knocked off the boxes for like G. Loomis, Megabass, Favorite, St. Croix, Duckett. You've crossed so many JDM bridges.
Yeah.
And the industry is forever always changing. There's always new baits coming out, but like, you guys really carry everything. And you've even gotten into, in the wintertime, like ice fishing. You know, you checked off the walleye. You know, at one point you even had like big musky bucktails, you know, I remember.
Yeah.
And like just the megabass, like for the longest time, you know, megabass was one of those things, if you lived in Cornwall, like you were either having to outsource somewhere else. You know, it wasn't just something you could go and buy in town. G. Loomis, you know, and it's interesting too. Your Tight Lines has been open now for 3 years.
2.5, but yeah.
And
fast growing.
You are up there in the sales as one of the top retailers in Canada for G. Loomis.
Yeah.
Like, that's something to be really proud about. Like, that's quite an accomplishment. Like, there's something to be said once again about the staff, the knowledge of the staff, you know, the customer service aspect of it. Like, yeah, you know, I'm sure there's probably a lot of guys who are maybe buying from out of town, you know what I mean? Like, you also have, you know, a website where you can do online sales and whatnot. But like, man, that's really impressive. And that has to make you feel good, you know, when you know, at the same time, when you're talking about you've taken this risk, like, because you're not always going to see it come together right away, right? Like, it takes years to build these clienteles, and it takes, you know, and also a lot of these products that you carry just don't deal with anybody. Like, if I wanted to go open up a tackle shop and I said, I'm going to reach out to Megabass. I want this, and this. They're probably going to go, no,
Yeah.
thank you. Like,
Yeah.
you need, or for instance, like your G Loomis, your ballpark is, oh God, what do we say? Like you're looking anywhere from, let's say, the 400 to well over $1,000 for a fishing rod.
Yep. Yep.
And that might not be everybody's forte, but you also carry all sorts of brands in a mid range, an entry level to a mid range to a high end, and you're still able to check off once again in a huge accomplishment being like #1 sales in Canada for G Loomis.
Yeah,
and you've only been open 2.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, with we've done really well with Loomis for sure. I mean, Loomis is just because it's a staple of a product that speaks for itself. I mean, the luxury of being able to sell it is definitely a feature. We know our G Loomis products very well. We feel like we know all of our products really well. It's for sure that when you hit that level, you need to know it really, really, really well, so you can really know the difference, right? Because you're really trusting someone with a huge investment when they're putting it out to purchase a rod in that price. So, yeah, for sure. Again, I go back to saying we've just been very, very fortunate, very lucky that we've had the feedback, and we've had the local anglers and from out of town just supporting us with that product and trusting us in that product. So, but yeah, I mean, we've climbed towards the top for sure, quite fast with G Loomis, and yeah, we hope it continues that way for sure.
I think one of the other cool parts is, your ability is not just in-store shopping. You offer online shopping and you ship across Canada. Do you ship to the United States also?
Yeah.
And, your clientele is growing right there because they're coming to you. And I'm sure, like, for instance, like JDM, JDM has some pretty wild baits. Like some baits where I would be like, what is that? Like, but it works. Fish magnet. It works, like I don't know. And then there's other ones where, and I've always been a fan of like Shimano JDM reels, but you also carry a lot of that stuff, and there are, I'm sure there's others in Canada, but they're, you guys, you're able to bring that into your shop, and you're still able to, you're selling lots of it. I think too, you might, for instance, tournament weekends.
Mm-hmm.
When you have guys coming to town, and now they've forgotten something, or they've, they need something, tight lines might just be there to save their day, like.
Yeah, we definitely on the Thursdays and Fridays of tournament weeks, we definitely feel the increased customers in the store, and I think going back to the JDM products, the cool thing about it is that that's kind of one that you can set yourself apart from the competition or box stores, is that they're hard to come by. So when you can get your hands on some JDM companies, you want to keep those relationships really good and grow with them, because that's the difference sometimes between you and a box store. And competition is so tough right now that you need to have those select items that draws them into your store. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely become a destination for sure.
And you do carry a lot of great products, like just North American plastics. You've got everything from like Z-Man, Set the Hook, Berkeley, Zoom, which is like an all-time classic.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you haven't fished like a Zoom horny toad, or you haven't hit up the flukes, or
their flukes are
the big monster O worms, like those were things I remember fishing and it's funny, I still do have some Zoom baits, but you know, and you covered, you know, the hard baits, you know, you got everything from, you have a fantastic selection of megabass, you know, Livingston, S Pro, Jackal, Scumfrog, you know, you got everything from Power Pro to Sunline, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yep.
And the thing is, what's cool about a lot of this stuff is it does not just pertain to bass anglers. It also probably draws in a lot of walleye anglers in the region, and or just online, you know, and like the real wall, which is like, oh my God, you just stand there. I'm sure most times you probably have to go up with a mop after and mop up all the guys standing there like drooling over, you know, the accents are like, you know.
It's probably what we get the most compliments, Adam, about is the real wall. People just look at it and we have the nice lights shining on it. And, you know, it's just, we're pretty proud of that wall. Like, I think
so many guys
carry all the reels from Shimano and Daiwa. And, you know, I think people just, it's the selection, the variety, you know, that it's in store, you know, so that's kind of a cool, we're pretty happy.
You're, you know, you, with any company, there's a lot of fantastic companies out there, but when it comes to social media, you don't really hear them. You may have, you know, they might have the odd post here or there, but like, you are truly active at letting your followers know what is going on at Tight Lines Tackle, whether it's, you know, through Facebook, because you can find them on Facebook, Tight Lines Tackle Cornwall, or you can find them on Instagram, which is, once again, Tight Lines Tackle Cornwall. Obviously, hit them up with a like, a follow, you know, but he lets you know, like, he's like, oh, Saturday, we're doing a sale today, and if you come down and we got this, and, you know, he's always showcasing the amazing baits that he has. He's even got some sweet shots of, you know, sitting there on the good old bass boat, you know, having fun. And, you know, it's, I have to say, like, I think it's impressive. I really think it's impressive what you're doing. Because being just any tackle shop in an industry that's always changing, you are up to date, actively posting, actively engaging. Like, man, like, I gotta give my hat off to you. Like, it's really awesome to see that, you know. And it's because at the end of the day, like, really, it's just free marketing, you know. Like, it's
absolutely.
It just, you know, somebody uses a hashtag Tight Lines Tackle Cornwall, you know, like, it's gonna boom.
It's funny.
Oh, what's that?
I had this little story. I'm going to say it was just the week before Valentine's that just went by. Obviously, for those who do know, I had the flower shop, so Valentine's is a very busy week for us.
Yes.
So that week I'll spend less time at Tight Lines, which means that I had less time to do videos. So I went about 3 or 4 days without doing a social media post, and I had like 6 or 7 people reach out to me and say, "Hey, just checking in. Are you okay? Is everything okay with you?" And then I was like, after the first 1 or 2, I'm like, did something come out that I missed or something, you know? And then I realized it was because I was not posting anything. People are wondering if I was okay, you know? So, yeah, absolutely. The social media is
a following.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's big,
it's
right?
Cool.
And it's like you said, it's free advertising. It gets your products out there. And we're definitely going to be taking it up a good notch again this year by doing more educational videos and stuff like that.
Yeah. And who isn't sitting there on lunch, you know, break at work, first thing in the morning, having their coffee, strolling through, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
no way, 110s. He's got like these select amazing colors, you know, and it's really cool with your giveaways, man. Like, I always enter them. I do. You have like some pretty sweet prize packages that you put together, and like, it's awesome, and you get to see all these people who win it, guys and girls, anglers, you know. And you know, Tight Lines, you know, you guys have swag. Tight Lines Tackle hat I'm wearing tonight.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
I like that.
I was wearing it at my son's hockey back in the winter time.
Okay.
And I also have a Tightline's tackle too. Anyways, my father-in-law's like, "Oh wow, is that Tightline's hat?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like that. She's like, "I like that." So I remember we do a little Secret Santa thing. So I remember I went back in. I was like, I got him the exact same hat, you know. So now we're hat buddies. But yeah, no, like it's cool walking around. It's like really cool walking around Cornwall or driving around, and people are like, "Oh, nice hat!" Like, you know, like people are like, "Yeah, Tightlines." Like you know, it's like you start to see all these like bass fishermen or fishermen, you know, start to pop out, you know, who you're like, "Oh, no way." Like, it's funny. Like, we even had a guy on my son's hockey team. His dad's like, "Yeah, have you checked out the Tightlines?" He's like, "Oh my God, the mega bass stuff. That's no way you fished." He's like, "You fished?" I was, "Yeah, man." You know, like, and it's just, it all started because we started talking about some Tightlines tackle in Cornwall.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, yeah. But I gotta ask you, there's this new hot product on the market. It's impossible to find right now. I don't know if you guys have had any success in getting it. So it's known as the Jackal Drift Fry.
Yeah. So we got 2 orders of the Jackal Drift Fry. So we got 150 packs about a month and a half ago. And we sold them in 1 day, which was pretty crazy. I had never seen that. That was my first experience with it. And then we finally got some earlier in the week. I believe, according to my knowledge, they are sold out across Canada for sure. Maybe even North America. I'm not even sure if anybody has it. And yeah, we just ended up getting another 250 packs that came in less than 24 hours ago. So it's a pretty cool bait. It's it's a soft plastic minnow that has a plastic lip at the front of it. So they use it a lot for mid strolling, even like a hover strolling.
Hover rig?
Yep. On the hover rig. So it's a new product. I mean, everything now is, with the forward facing sonars. So it's kind of designed for that specifically. But yeah,
That's what I was actually going to ask. Do you run forward facing sonar on your, are you into that game?
I am, we'll say, starting to be in that game more and more.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably I'm there now. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely this year for sure. I think that you can eliminate water a lot faster by just tackling the area that you need to find those fish. And when you find them, you can just, spot lock and use those techniques to get them. So it's I think it's just where we need to be now. I mean, every minute on the water is so important when you're tournament fishing. I wouldn't necessarily apply it if I'm just fun fishing, because I just want to go fun fishing. It's not the most fun way to fish, but it's definitely a way to fish that's very good.
Like, I would feel like at some point in the day, like my neck would hurt, like just staring down. Like I'll be honest with you, I really liked watching the Bassmaster Elite series. I used to watch it a lot, but I just found now there's some events where I don't want to say I lost interest in it, but it's hard when I feel like these guys, all they're doing is it's just like, he's like, yeah. He's you can see his bait going down. Fish got it. And then all these like, and it's like, what?
It's
like
kind of too far a little bit, I think, at times. We don't use it to that level. But
if you want to win, like, I get it. Like, this is, you have to go with it. And it's funny because I had another guest, Nick Cuvius.
Oh yeah.
Nicholas Cuvius.
Yeah.
A phenomenal mega bass. You've had him at your at your shop.
He's one of the best.
And he's the guy who's got, like, how many screens on his boat. And that's how he goes out there, eliminates water, catches trophy size smallmouth. Like, he's in the almost 8-pound clubhouse, like that. So I kind of get it. But I just want to go back to this because, for anyone who, well, I guess it would have been this past winter you started carrying the core tackle hover rig.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So the core tackle hover rig was something that I had actually seen. I'm trying to think where I had seen it. It was on a podcast. I think it was the Catch podcast, and they spoke about this Dark Horse tackle box that was, they got these core tackle, and core tackle is actually owned and operated by one of the elite Bassmaster elite anglers. I'm drawing. It's a Matt.
Yeah, it's Matt.
Yeah, Matt. We'll get there. We'll get there. But and I was like, man, this would be a really cool rig for smallies, because there's sometimes where as a presentation that just kind of like hovers, does. And I remember going into Tightlines because you guys carry them, and I was like, oh, sweet, like I was super pumped that you guys had them.
Yeah.
And this Jackal drift fry, like, I don't know, Jackal seems to always come out with some pretty impressive baits.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see why a lot of guys who fish smallmouth might just be like all about that. Now, a 5.2 inch is pretty impressive. Comes 5 in a pack. Now, you got some pretty cool colors too, hey? Like,
a lot of natural colors, eh?
Yes, very, very natural. Yeah. That's like, in all honesty, you could say that you can see why when we talk about the St. Lawrence River and smallmouth, why a bait like the drift fry would be super sold out anywhere. It's now have you actually had a chance to go out and give this drift fry a?
Yes, I've tried it for the first time maybe about a week and a half ago.
So let's just talk about, like, if you just, or getting into like the hover rig technique. Let's just go rod, if you want, rod and reel setup here. Let's just, like, it doesn't have to, we'll go maybe more length and size of reel than, if you want to talk about a brand, or if there's a certain rod specific brand that you use.
I mean, what's kind of cool, I guess, maybe just fast forwarding to just before we talked about which rods and reels, with ICAST going on, at the moment now, one of the major things that two of the major companies have introduced when it came to rod were exactly rods to do mid trolling and that type of thing. Daiwa came out with a Kage rod, which has like a solid tip to it, which would be designed for that. And then Shimano had the same thing also with an X Pride. So you're seeing now companies gearing up towards this type of fishing. So I think in the next year, you're going to have a lot more options when it comes to rods and setups than what we have today. But we still have a lot of choice that you can use it for. I use it on the spinning, obviously. We have it on the 7. I have it on 7.3, if I believe, just on a medium rod. Maybe more could be used on the medium heavy also. So that's what I use it on. I was using it more this past week on a ball head. So that's how I was using it more than, we'll say, mid strolling itself. But I did try it briefly for mid strolling, and we just were in an area where it was like a little community hole, so they were all small ones. So we went to another spot, but it definitely was working also for sure.
Yeah. Well, see, when you get into a like, you're talking a community hole here, and your presentation is coming down and it's literally just hovering.
Yes.
Are you Like, is it just straight down? Oh, I don't want to say dead stick. I don't know if dead stick is the right term here, but it's just down. Are you kind of bringing it up and letting it come back down, or?
Not necessarily. I will just kind of like, I don't know what the right term, maybe they just jiggle it, just like kind of give it just a little shake every now and then. So yes, you're going vertically, so you're going right down on the spot where you might have seen, a grouping of whatever, 3, 4, 5 bass, and you're going to drop it. You're basically just trying to drop it right at their nose and hoping they go for it, right? So instead of, we'll say, in the past, you might have drifted over the spot. So you might have been drop shotting and drifting over the spot. And then once you were done, you'd go back up with your boat and then repeat the process, till you felt like you got the bass that were there. So today, with the forward facing sonars, we're able to just spot lock right on the spot and then drop down on them. Obviously, we're talking, 20, 30 feet where they're significantly under the boat, right? But it's really a technique that's become very, very popular. And you're dead sticking in a sense, but you're then just giving it a little bit of a little tad of action. But I don't think I would be using the term, you're not jigging it. You're just basically just moving it slightly. And that's where these new rods with the solid tip will come in handy for that, for sure.
So if you were to go into the lineup of the Kayak rod lineup, it has a all around the spinning rod. Sorry, it has the everything from the jerk bait. It goes all the way to the jerk bait tube. There's an all around medium light, and even a medium heavy shaky head. Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting lineup that's coming out with them. So stores are just starting to receive them now. I think we've got about 2 or 3 models that came in. So not all in stock yet, but they are coming in. And then again, the same types of rods are being produced on the Shimano side with the X Pride. So both, as I call them, the 2 big guns are quickly realizing this is the way that fishing is going to come moving forward for some term anglers. So you're seeing them jump into it. So I think both of those lineups, both of those rods are going to be phenomenal. I think they'll be big sellers. Megabass also has one too. Just hitting a blank on the name of it, but it's part of their new Orochi X10 lineup. Nick would probably know off the top of his head there. I can't remember the name of it is, but it's they've got one that just came out too. We have had 1 in the store, 2 in the store, but they sold right away, and now they're back ordered again. But it's the same process, more of a solid tip, just for that mid stroll.
Wow, and once again, the new, would it be it's the new lineup of the X10, is it not?
Yeah, exactly. It's a new lineup, the X10. It's called is it the Medusa? I'm not sure if it's Medusa.
It's a 6'11". It's a 6. The Medusa is a 6'11" finesse spinning rod for bottom contacts, especially with highly sensitive solid rod tip.
Yeah, there you go.
Deep wellspring of lifting power to
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, deep water drop shots, no sinkers, long distance search plugs.
So where they're adapting is that solid tip, right? That's where they're kind of going towards it, which the slightest movement is just going to make that bait kind of it kind of gives a rolling action. That's where that little bit above the front is, just giving them like a rolling action. So that's what's making them so popular. Kind of like almost like a fish in distress when it's in the water. So it's just sparking the bites so quick. Like usually if there's a bass around, it's not going to wait. It's just going right after right away. It thinks it's a fish in distress and it's just grabbing right away.
So when do you think you will have this, like, because these sell out pretty quick, they hit the shelves? You probably got a lot of orders too of guys who might customers who might have called and said, "Hey, do you mind just putting a couple packs aside for me?" Like.
Yeah, I mean, right now we have, like I said, we had 250 came in. I think we're down to about 30 or so in the store.
Wow.
Now they're telling us mid to late August before another order comes in. So we're hoping that we might have a few contacts to bring them a little quicker, but it's been challenging for sure. It's obviously we're not the only tackle store trying to get a hold of them for sure. So
and everybody's in the same boat, at the end of the day.
yeah,
Exactly.
and we have such great tackle stores in Ontario and that are very involved and passionate about getting the right products, that we're all searching for the same thing, right?
So, well, okay. So there you go. We have discovered the hover rig or Mitch trolling
mid stroll
rig.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Guys, girls, anglers, Rob's giving us something right here. This is something to try. If you're looking to try a new technique, you like fishing deep water, you like fishing the current, this might just be, and I don't want to just say deep water, because you could definitely work this in any current fishing. The idea is the rig is hovering. So if you got any more questions about that, Tightlines Tackle will be your point of contact. Rob is always willing to sit there and talk about tackle gear, full of knowledge of his products. But I did want to touch on another thing that you guys do at Tightlines, which I thought was really cool. You guys do seminars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And you've had Jason Ramada.
Yep.
And you guys have done 2 so far, have you not?
Yeah, so we've had Jason that came in with American Baitworks.
Yes.
Most recently, we had Paul that came with Rapella. Fresh 3 line, the new red line hooks from VMC. So we are finalizing details. We will have JP.011 in, I'm going to say, late summer, early fall.
I'm coming for that.
Tied into a pretty major event that we'll have at the store coming up that I can't maybe go in details too much yet, but
you can't give us any details.
Well, it's going to be a big Shimano event that we're going to be pulling off with all the new Shimano products.
I respect that.
Yeah, so it's going to be so JP's going to do a seminar for us. So he's got a busy schedule, so I think we're going to wait to the bait field season to be done, and then we're going to have him down. We've been in discussions with Nick Uvness that's been on your show, so we're going to have Mega Bass down. Also,
I'm coming for that one too.
Yeah, he's those are 2. Maybe the only concern we have with both of those 2 is they will be drawing quite a crowd, so we're trying to make sure we have the space to accommodate them both.
Well, if I have to camp there to get front seats, then I'm going to do it. Okay, like
you're both going to be
popped up. That's me.
We've got about 3 or 4 lined up.
Okay. So I do want to ask you though. That's cool, and I don't know. I know for a while, Sale, when I worked at Sale, they would have that where they'd have a speaker come in, and I believe even JP. I want to say JP Droza did one. They had a couple of the other guys, some well-known Canadian anglers. I'm just horrible with names, but that's cool, because at the same time it gives guys a chance to learn. It's engaging.
Yes.
You now are bringing a community aspect to it.
Yeah.
And it's, at the same time, who doesn't want to listen to a bunch of tackle talk while in a tackle store? We can talk about tackle right now.
Yeah.
But there's a good chance that, by the time somebody, who knows, maybe somebody will say, oh, hey, Rob, you know, when you did that podcast, the River Run, there was that rig you were talking about.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it's a hover rig. It's okay. But to be in the store and being like, hey, guys, like the new Crush City lineup, like that's your, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, there it is.
There it is. Oh, it's
I
been
need a
really
couple of
fun.
these. I need a couple of those, you know. It,
Oh yeah, it's been a cool experience. Because you know, the day we stopped learning is the day we're in trouble, right? So I mean,
oh,
we're always learning new products and learning, and for my staff, right? It's educating my staff, educating myself, it's educating the anglers, and then they can ask questions. And who's better than the reps from these companies to do these?
yeah, they know.
Or you know, I mean, and there's so, you know, when we had Jason, there's so much that the guys were asking questions that we only got through about, I don't even know if we got through half the stuff we were supposed to get through. And you know, it was supposed to be done at 8 o'clock, and at 9:30 it was still going on, you know. So it's just, it's kind of a neat concept. It's something that just not a lot of places do. And
No, I think
it's
it's
a way of
great that
me
you guys do it.
giving back to the anglers too. These are all free events that we host. So it's a way of giving back. I mean, that's how I look at it too.
So, in the month of August, we like, you don't have anything set in stone yet for dates.
Yeah, so August, I'm going to take the month off. I think the problem with August is there's so many tournament anglers that are in multiple tournaments, multiple weekends. So I think it's a busy month, and you know, whether you're a tournament angler or whether you're, you know, just kayaking at night, there's so many nice nights that you just want to go out. You don't want to be in a seminar, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we're going to focus a little bit more, maybe like September, and then we'll have them throughout the whole winter. So I've got about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 lined up already. And I think probably the next one will probably be, I'm going to say September is going to be the next event. And then there'll be one every month going out. So there's probably just June, July, August that I may not have anyway.
Well, in you know what? That I like that approach, because you bring up a really good point. Like, there's a lot of nights where you guys are on the water. Like, you and living in Canada, like there's only so much time, you know, before you're right back to fall, and then boom, the snow hits.
Yeah.
That approach too, you know, in the off season. I remember when I worked at Sail, one of the biggest things in their success was the ability to bring in these reps and do seminars. And some of those seminars were just for the employees.
Okay.
And then they had seminars that were more focused for employees and customers. Those, I'm always a huge fan, and I love talking fishing. I love talking technique, and there's a lot of people on social media that I follow, you know, who I would just be like, man, I would love to sit down and just listen to you talk about, because they do a lot of those at boat shows.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Like the Toronto Boat Show, the outdoor, you know, all those, you get a lot of big names there. No, not everybody's able to make it, but you know, have a chance to come down tight lines tackle. It's literally only let's say an hour, and from Ottawa, it's you know, a little more than a little over that from Montreal, the Quebec side. You know, we have the great Aquasauce Nation, that you know, they love getting on the river and fishing, and I'm sure they're big clientele for you too. And you know, at the same time,
have their own circuit too, right? So they have their own Aquasauce Bath tournament. So that's kind of another avenue where you can see how passionate they are about fishing, for sure.
Well, and you also this year took part in a fishing Aquasauce. Was it a kids?
Yes, I mean we did numerous little things. So there's the Fishing for Kids, which is an event hosted by PJ Burns, and they've had that event for a few years now, where we furnished
Aquasauce.
Yeah, we gave all the baits so that 40 young anglers could learn to fish. So we did
you guys did Senkos and swim baits.
That's right.
40 kids. Aquasaucony fishing for kids. That was 2024. Like that's really cool. Like I really admire what what you're doing to give back to the community. Like that's really admirable. And at the same time, it's super generous. Like I could only imagine. I do a fair bit of working with different groups, and like for instance, like my role with the Kayak Fishing Life benefit for Chio. 2 years in a row now, you have done amazing. Also taking part in that as a sponsor with a very generous donation. Um, like it's like, and that's for the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. Like you're not just tight lines tackle. We're starting to see that there's more to this than just a tackle shop. You know what I mean? Like there's a sense of community to this all, and when we walk in there, that community feel is it's very strong, and it's nice to see. And like, have your small business winner too in Cornwall?
Yeah, so we've been nominated for small business for sure. Yeah, I mean, for me, giving back is very important for my wife and I. We've done it for years with Flowers Cornwall, and same thing with Tightline. We want to, the only reason we get a chance to, for me to live my dream of owning a tackle store is basically because the community supports us. So it's very important for me to give that back to the community, and it doesn't exist if it's not for the community. I joke around, but I mean, I don't see it as my tackle store. I see it as, our tackle stores. To me, it belongs to our community, and, with everybody supporting, it's just going to keep growing, and we'll all benefit from it. So that's kind of like, and then giving back is just, it's important. Anything with kids, I always have a soft spot,
For sure, man.
and some don't have the same
luxuries
of able to fish the way we do, and it's important to help out as much as we can, for sure.
Yeah, I honestly think just anybody who wants to get out and go fishing, go and do it. Whether you fish from the bank, whether you fish off a kayak, at the end of the day, a boat. At the end of the day, we are all there for the same reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're all there to have fun, go out there, fish. That's the part where we all support each other.
Yeah.
There's no need to divide, it's cool when you walk into your tackle shop. You guys, like I said, you're always welcoming. You're always, ready to help, but you're just like, hey, how are you today? And like, I'm always one of those, I always like to check in on my friends, and I also like to, take care of everybody that I can. And I think I'm a firm believer in giving back to the community. And, like I said, you can change somebody's day just by, simple conversation,
It's funny because we have as you notice when you walk in, we have these little stools all over the store, and basically, it's sometimes we'll get guys that are regulars but just don't need anything that day, but they'll swing by because they're waiting for an oil change at the dealership, and they told them, hey, just drop me off at Tight Lines, I'll go chit chat with the boys. And and that's pretty cool for me. Like, I always like the fact that it just feels like a place where you can just come and chit chat. It's not always about the purchase. It's about just, how was your weekend? Did you go out this weekend? Did you have some fun? So that's what it's all about. I think it's just more than just, the sell at the end of the day.
Yeah. And there, it's true, right? Like you do go in there, and, you're there to talk, no matter what. And not every place has that, some people are there for other reasons, other than the conversation. But no, we have, I think this has been a really fun episode. We are getting to our mark now. I wanted to let you you can shout out, if you want to thank anybody, or if you'd also just let people know where they can find Tight Lines Tackles. Well, we know where Tight Lines Tackle is, but just let them know, like, where they can find Robert Martin.
Yeah. Hey, listen. First and foremost, thank you for giving me the experience of coming on the podcast and learning more about what Tightlines is all about. So I really do appreciate that. Any platform that we can, benefit from, and also just get extra exposure. I really want to thank you for that. When it comes to where we are, I mean, obviously we're right in Cornwall, so the locals know us. But for those out of town, we're basically I'm gonna say 2 blocks from the boat launch. So we're right in a straight line from the boat launch with the new location. What's kind of neat about the new location is that there's tons of boat parking all around my building. So it's just easy access. You can come off the water and just park your boat and feel safe. They're actually, got a little scoop this week. They're putting all brand new asphalt, so it'll be even nice and shiny asphalt to bring your new boat in. So it's just it's just going to be nice. We're just a small family business. We try our hardest, and every time we get a challenge to find that latest, newest, that special bait that everybody wants, then that's where I kind of challenge myself to go find that bait, either first or one of the first ones. And that's kind of how I'm driven to kind of just bring in all those latest products and make sure that we're on top of everything that's new, so that the anglers can trust us to have those new products and have them available to sell. And as we keep growing, we've went from basically being just a tournament bass store to adding the walleye to like Adam, just realizing just how many kayak anglers I had to come into our store is crazy.
Yes.
You might look at today and say that the biggest part that's growing about fishing might be the kayak fishermen. Like there is just so many in Cornwall in the area, and that's super exciting. That's to me is so promising. And now we have all the kayak tournaments that are going on, and that to me is just a fun time ahead for the industry and as a whole.
Well, I will definitely say that the community of kayak anglers in Cornwall is definitely growing. And it's great to see. For all the people that are getting out on the water on kayaks, like they've caught in that bug for kayak fishing. I think it's really cool. I think you and I should get out on the kayaks one evening or one day afternoon.
Like sure.
And I would really like to take you out on one of the Jacksons. And I think you might find a new fun way to fish that may not always be like, instead of take the boat, man, just take kayak.
We're always jealous. Sometimes you're in a tournament and you see that kayak in that back corner, and you just know that he's in that area that you can't get access to. So that's always a fun part about a kayak fisherman, right? You guys can get these little corners that we just can't access, and that to me is just that's an exciting part of the sport.
Well, that's the beauty of kayak fishing is you have the ability to launch. You're not just a boat launch.
No.
You have the ability for those really unique access points, and you can get further back into something because it may be easier to just push your kayak along, hop it over something, than it is to try and get a bass boat into some tougher spots where it might be like, oh damn, now I'm stuck and I gotta get the push pull out, and
exactly.
So right. But no, we definitely need to get out on the water. That would be really cool. So hopefully we could line something up. I think it'd be fun. But yeah, no, Robert, I wanted to just thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I've been wanting to have you on it for quite some time. I always, as a customer of Tightlines, and as a friend, I am grateful to have the opportunity to have met you and gotten to knowing you. And I think you're doing amazing things not just in the fishing industry, but I think just the aspect of within our community of Ontario, I think is amazing. So yeah, I wanted to say thank you very much for coming on, and I look forward to hey, we'll get on. Maybe we can talk about another technique podcast in the near future. So thanks again, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Well, you have heard it. Tightlines Tackle. Check them out. Tightlines Tackle Cornwall. You can Instagram. You can find it there. Tightlinestackle.ca. Check them out. Robert Martin, Tightlines Tackle, is on Facebook. Yeah, like if you're the hover rig, I'm going to go try this hover rig. This is for me. I definitely need to try it. Hey guys, I just want to say we're 10 episodes in, and I am super thankful for each and every one of you who take the opportunity to listen, like, comment. The comments, I love the support. You guys are great. You guys and girls, I'm sorry, are fantastic. And just thank you to like Jackson Kayak for their support, Paddle and Fishn for giving me this great opportunity, and I just also want to thank like Hard Knox Kayak Fishing for their support, Kayak Bass Canada, and Dubro Fishing. Thank you, and also till the next episode, guys and girls. I can't wait to see you, and I hope you all have a fantastic time. Take care. I'm Adam Cross, the host of the River Run. You can listen to the River Run podcast on the Spotify, Apple Podcast. It's on all streams. Check them out on Facebook, and check it out, the River Run podcast, on Instagram. Take care. See you soon.